What's up, fellow romance book lovers? Welcome to my channel, Kat Reads Romance. My name is Kat. I read primarily romance novels and love to share them with you here on my channel. This book that we're going to talk about today is one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I was so excited to finally get to it. I have been, had a small crush, big crush, on the main character from this book since the very first book. The book is called Maelstrom by Dyan Layne. This is the third book in the series. The first book is Serenity, the second book is Affinity, and then this, like I said, is the third book. It's the Red Door series. I'm so excited to be able to finally talk with you about it. This has been an interesting series for me to read. Now, I read sexy books, but there's this underlying current of positivity in Dyan's books, and I will of course include in the description box below my previous two videos so you can check those out as well. And then I also want to mention that because this is the third book, I generally don't give spoilers. I try my hardest not to give spoilers, but you might get information. I mean, not really. I try to be very careful in the passages that I share with you, but you might get something that is a bit of a spoiler if you haven't read the first two books. But that being said, all three of the books, they're very sex positive. The Red Door, which is the club that Brendan, who's the character from this book, owns with his cousins, and we have met them and been with them in the Red Door Club. So it's a sex club. And not that it's like this huge part of the book, but it's part of the book and what goes on there and the things that they partake in and the things that they see that goes along with the positivity that Dyan writes about in the book. And something that, who was it that said it? I can't remember now who said it. It might have been Brendan. The Red Door provides a environment and, I'm paraphrasing, freedom to love in whichever way feels right to you. And really when it comes down to it, okay, fine, they're talking about a sex club, but when it comes down to why Brendan and his cousins made the club, it's because they believed that and they wanted a safe environment for people to express themselves in obviously a consensual environment. It's just part of them. And to me, that was really interesting because I had such a crush on Brendan and how he kind of was in the other two books that I kind of expected a little more about that in this book. And I was wholly surprised at the direction that Dyan took. Now, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's roll it back a little bit. Maelstrom is about Brendan and Katie. It is an age gap story. Katie is 18, Brendan is 32, I believe, 33. And they're both at this place in life. Brendan, oh my God, I just freaking love him. I really do. He ticks all my boxes. He's this larger than life, like imposing man who's very alpha, but very, I don't want to say soft-spoken, but he's so alpha that he like doesn't have to really say anything. He's a leader. He's kind of the one that his cousins look to. Like I said, they're all tight-knit, and he just is. He's a protector. He is sensitive. He is extremely sexual. But he also has this really soft, mushy part of him. Okay, of course, Macy and Rue are laying right at my feet playing. So if the camera Bless you, Macy. If the camera moves a little bit, I apologize. So he's at this part where he's noticed in his life where he's noticed that people are kind of finding their happy. He has Dyan and Linnea. His cousin is Dyan. He has found his other half. They are about to get married. He has his cousin Jesse, who has just married his girlfriend Chloe and his boyfriend Taylor. They've gotten married. They are together. They are raising their son together. Oh my gosh, you guys, stop it. Sorry, I'm gonna move the camera a little bit. So he's watched these, and then he's got some other friends that haven't quite settled down yet, but he's watched these relationships developed, and there's a yearning that he has, and it's not being fulfilled. And he's also, his parents have both passed. So as much as his family means to him with his cousins, he is an only child and he doesn't have his parents anymore. So he's like kind of a boat without a moor, really. And then on the flip side, Katie is she's from a young woman on the precipice of life. She's a small town girl, from the sticks that has moved to the big city and works and goes to college, works for her aunt who owns a coffee shop, loves her job, loves her life, was too big for that small town. Dyan mentioned which I already knew and I love, that based on her hometown, Chicago, whoop, whoop. And of course, I'm from Chicago, so I loved picking out the places that she specifically talked about: the Music Box Theater, Lincoln Park Zoo. She talks about the Aragon Ballroom. These are all places I've been. And also she mentioned that Katie and Brendan go and get pizza pot pie. Was that it? Oh my gosh, was that it? And Dyan and I have actually talked about, there's a restaurant. Was it in Southport, Dyan? I think you said that. And they make these pizza pot pies, which I'm dying to go to anyway. So I love that part of it. So Katie has come and is starting this new life. She's excited, and it just so happens, and I kind of feel like it's kismet, serendipity. They're both at the same festival, and they're walking through the park, and they or was it an alley, and they kind of run into each other, and they take one look at each other, and they are just drawn to each other. I love that. I mean, I'm a romantic, you lock eyes, with your significant other when you meet them and you're like, oh my God, that's my person. That's what happened to Katie and Brendan. Something else I really loved about this series and now this book is that the boys Brendan and his cousins have bought this block, and they bought everything on the block, and they put a gate at the end of it, and that's where they live. And it's called Park Place. I love that. Wouldn't that be so fun? I just thought that was such a cool touch, and it really shows how much they love each other and want to be around each other. And it just warmed my heart so much. And this is what Brendan says about it. Park Place had 10 vintage 3-flat apartment buildings sitting on it. So they bought it, gated it, and converted the buildings into grand single-family residence for each of them. A family compound in the middle of the city. Who effing does that? They do. I should also mention that the book is told in third person. There was no lack of information. Sometimes I think it's hard. Some people don't like third person. Dyan writes it really well. Something else I really love about Dyan's writing is how she describes things. And with her books, there's a all senses get involved type thing for me, because she describes smells. And it's funny because I will actually I did an unboxing video. Dyan was gracious and lovely enough to send me a gift, and it was the most amazing gift, and it had a lot of very lovely, awesome smelling things in it. So I will put that video, if you're interested, in the description box below. So I know that it's something that she does in her writing. This is something that Brendan talks about when he's at work at the club on a particular night. Brendan curled his fingers around the railing in front of his upstairs office as he looked out at the main club floor. Members prowled about, drinks in hand, dressed to entice, seduce. Subtle notes of plum, patchouli, black amber, and musk pumped through the ventilation system to blend with the heavy scent of arousal. Sex. He breathed it deep into his lungs, but it didn't stir him like it usually did. Can't you just smell that? And she just kind of hit the nail on the head there with what it kind of smells like. I love that I can smell that, in my head when I'm reading. Katie is a little bit of a mystery to Brendan. They just meet that night. They have a very intense moment between them, and then they walk away from each other. And it's like, WTF? Like, why are you walking away? And the book goes on a bit. And I kind of wondered, I was like, okay, how are they going to meet again? And lo and behold, Katie is at work one day at her aunt's coffee shop, and Brendan comes in, and she's like, oh my God, it's him. And so she asks her aunt, she's like, who is that man? And her aunt's like, oh, that's Brendan. He's our landlord. He owns the building. And she's like, oh my God. So now she knows who he is. She gets a little bad information. She assumes he's married because he's at the coffee shop with Chloe, and she's got a baby with Shandon with her. And Brendan is very affectionate. And so Chloe is like his best friend. And he's like so good with Shandon. He's, always holding him. And he's very involved with the baby. Oh my God, ovaries exploding during those parts. But Katie misreads the situation, and she thinks he's married. And she's looking back to a few months before that when they had their little interaction, their little tryst sort of type thing when they met, and she's mad. She's like, oh, he's such an asshole. But of course, he's not married to Chloe. One thing that Brendan does know is that she's young. He realizes that she's young, and he's like, I can't get involved in that. As much as he's drawn to her, and he cannot get her out of his mind. And likewise for Katie, she was like, oh my gosh. And she actually meets a guy that's her age. He's a couple years older, but they go to school together, college together. And she's like, I should really like him. He's everything I should want, but I want that man. And it's like, no kidding, right? So Brendan realizes, and he's like, I just can't go there. And he's kind of miserable about it. And everyone realizes that he's kind of miserable about it. And they're like, dude, don't let her age stand in the way. If you're not just gonna dine and dump, you like her, you see something with her. Don't let her age get in the way. And that's where this book was very different than what I expected. All that Brendan is, and what his life is, and what his business is. And I expected him to be different in a lot of ways, and this book to go a very different way when it came to him and Katie. I did not see the way Dyan brought them together and what their relationship, as we go on the journey with them, I did not see that coming. I was very pleasantly surprised. I actually even messaged Dyan about it, and I was like, he's very much surprising me right now. And to me, yes, it's an age gap. Yes, he's so much older than she is, but so much of this book was Brendan figuring out a lot about himself. And even though he is in his 30s and settled in a lot of ways, in comes this young woman, I should say, who completely surprises him and changes his attitude a bit. I mean, yeah, he likes sex. He goes out and he partakes in his club. But he knows from the get-go that she's more than that. And I wasn't sure if she was going to be like, like fawning all over him. She's got a backbone, Katie does, and she brings a lot to the table. And I really liked her. This is from Brendan's perspective. Brendan could no longer resist her. Why do you have to feel so good, sweet girl? He tugged on her hair, bending her head back so he could get more of her mouth. With her palms against his chest, Caitlin pushed herself away from him. She was bent over, gasping for breath with her hands on her knees. Caitlin, baby, she stood up, tears dripping down her face. Don't get to do that. She took 2 steps towards him and poked her finger into his chest. You don't get to do that. You don't get to play with my feelings just because you aren't sure of your own. Then she went through the door, slamming it behind her. She's got a backbone, and I love that about her. There is this very innocent, sweet quality to her that he's drawn to, but yet she stands up to him, and she is his equal in so many ways. And if he would just let himself, like, not let his guard down, but let himself have that, the partner she can be for him. Oh, there she is. Say hi, Rue. Because he's holding back. And I couldn't wait until we got to the point where he let himself go a little bit. There were so many swoony moments between them and steamy moments between them and very sweet moments because I just love Brendan. Like, yeah. Dyan penned him the butterfly man, and that's part of Katie's thing with him, getting butterflies. And oh my God, did I get the butterflies too. They all mingled in Chloe's enormous family room. It was easily the largest room in the house. Jesse's flat screen about covered an entire wall. Taylor's first guitar was mounted on another, along with a collage frame of gold records, album covers, and football jerseys. Photos of them all at the lake house, Charlie's, their wedding, their son. This room told their story. This house was a home. A family lived here, loved here. Nothing at all like the dark, devoid dwelling Brendan occupied next door. For a moment he imagined blonde hair spread upon worn black leather, pale skin pushed against the midnight walls, holding her from behind in the kitchen, her warm body nestled beside him in his bed. He'd never shared his bed with anyone, or his heart, or his home, not once. Oh my God. I'm like, dude, I'll share. But the sweetness of this moment was, like I said, Brendan's at this part in his life where he's seeing all of this go on around him, and he wants it. He wants it, and he sees it with Chloe and Jesse and Taylor and what they've built, the life that they've built. And I just really hoped that Dyan was going to give us that for Brendan. I thought it was really interesting, the deep relationships that Brendan has. I loved those moments with his friends and family, and his really good friend Monica, who's a therapist, sees that he's struggling with something. And so she starts to kind of talk to him about it and bring this out. And this passage is a little long, but it really showed me, and I think it was like a light bulb moment for Brendan, how he was having trouble separating sex and love. And that's kind of what confused him with his feelings for Katie. So this is from Brendan's perspective. Brendan cleared his throat. I can F a woman, make her come. He smirked and then paused. I'm not sure if I know how to love one, though, especially a certain one. Monica grinned. Oh, I see. Trust me, you don't. He shook his head. She's barely 18, barely been touched, and I already effed it all up. He was too ashamed of himself to admit anything of that, though. Brendan, trust me when I say you know how to love, and better than most. You love everyone in this room. He looked into her warm eyes with a smile. You're all family. That's different. Is it? Love is love, no matter what form it takes. Monica tilted her head and pursed her lips. I think you've got love and effing mixed up, brother. Brendan raised a brow. You have a gigantic heart, and there isn't a person here that doesn't know firsthand how fiercely you love. And yes, you know how to F like the devil too, mister, she winked. So, what I think you're really saying is that you're not sure how you F a woman you're in love with, because you've never done it, am I right? He hadn't. Maybe. Monica turned in his embrace, her hands on his biceps. Saying I love you with your body is one of the most beautiful experiences there is in this life. You sweet man. I'd hate for you to miss out on that. I am not sweet, he smirked. To the people you love, you are. Brendan felt heat bloom in his face, and that almost never happened. It's funny because his family and his friends almost have to point it out to him. He's so used to sex being the forefront for him that these other feelings that he had for her kind of confused him a little bit. This last passage that I want to share, oh my gosh, I was like, girl, I get it. It's from Katie's perspective. He kissed her right there in front of the lily pool, and she felt them, butterflies. A kaleidoscope of wings took flight in her belly at his soft, tender kiss. Katie held on to him tightly. She found it difficult to catch her breath and inhaled deeply through her nose. Bergamot, sandalwood, amber, and musk. Brendan. She kissed him like his breath gave her life, and his lips nourished her soul, because they did. I was like, yeah, I can imagine they did. There's this love story between them, and then there's also plenty of drama that keeps you like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen here? There is a character that we meet in the first book that we don't like. You're not supposed to like her, and she causes a lot of trouble. She is a vindictive, scorned in a lot of ways woman who, yeah, she scared me. I was not sure what was going to happen with her, and the worst thing happens. So there's plenty of drama that balances out this journey of love for Brendan and Katie, and I just loved all of it. Let me know if you have read Maelstrom or any of the other Red Door books by Dyan. I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, don't forget, I put a direct to Amazon link to purchase the book in the description box so you can jump straight from there. It is a bit.ly link because the Amazon links are just so long, so keep that in mind. I welcome you, as always, to come over to my social media and say hello to me over there, which is Cat Reads Romance on Facebook and Instagram. Also, I just joined TikTok. That's Cat Reads Romance as well. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.